welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, Mike Veerman. We're here with our friend and trusted producer, Max Kerman. We're also here with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. We're getting back to him in a second because we got big news. And we're also here with intern Erica, who is working the dials. Shane, congrats. Your father for the second time. It's all very exciting. How you doing? First of all, congrats from everybody in the pod. Let's get a round of applause.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So the question was, how am I doing? I'm doing good. Yeah, it's the second time around. I must say it was a lot easier than the first. Like the first time around, I was worried about so many little things that it would stress me out. Like way too much. Like changing the diaper was freaking me out because I'd never changed a baby's diaper with Lucy, my firstborn. But with this kid, I don't know. The birth was pretty easy. It came out even quicker than Lucy, and Lucy was a really easy birth. This kid's quieter than Lucy was, and I don't know. Everything about it is just way like old hat almost. Like that's exaggerating, but that's the way it almost feels. And it's way less exciting too. Like when the kid comes out, you're not as like, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm a dad. I can't believe I'm a dad because I'm already a dad. So I'm not shocked that I'm a dad.
How did you come up with the name Betty?
I think Alex was like drunk in Vegas or something in like a pool. And she was like, let's name him Betty, or her Betty, I guess. And I was like, sure.
Lucy and Betty, those are very cute names.
Mm-hmm. Very classic.
Yeah, we're not overthinkers at all, like Alex and I, when it comes to many things. And with the name Ray, we were just on the couch like 2 days before she was born. And I was like, oh, she's kind of like a ray of sunshine in our life. And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, come on, Betty Ray. She's like, it's like a country name. She might like country. And then she's like, okay, fine. So, but yeah, Alex wasn't totally into Ray until she was. So,
well, what's Ray?
That's the middle name. I didn't know
Ray's
that.
her middle name, Betty Ray.
You're breaking news to us. We didn't know. I didn't know that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah.
Like R-A-Y?
Yeah, R-A-E.
Oh.
That was Alex's ownership. Instead of R-A-Y, she wanted it to be R-A-E.
But is that how you spell a ray of light, though? Or is it R-A-Y?
No, it's not R-A-Y. I wanted like ray of light, you know.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
But Ray, R-A-E, is the classic country way to spell it.
The only thing I could think of when I saw the picture of the newborn, Shane, was how relieved you must be that she has a full head of hair.
Yeah.
Because I know that was a stressful thing. You were witnessing all of our other friends' babies have this great head of hair, and you're just waiting for months, if not years, for Lucy to get hair. And then this kid comes out, full head of hair, just like, hey, let's go.
Oh, I know. Well, I was very unsure. I thought I saw some hair. I don't like looking directly into that area when it's happening. It's a little freaky. But I kind of did for a second. And I was like, it's quarantine time. Alex, like with our first child, Alex got a Brazilian down there. But we're in quarantine, so Alex didn't get the Brazilian. So I'm like, either the kid has hair or it's just really out of hand down there. But then it turned out the kid had hair. So, yeah,
a little from column A, a little from column B.
It was, honestly, yeah. That's the right answer.
Yeah, just so we can maybe keep this part in the podcast. When you say out of hand,
you can't talk about pubic hair.
No. But out of hand it implies a negative connotation. Just say some people might perceive it that way.
I like it out of hand. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, there you go. Okay, thank you.
Like sometimes when your grass is long, you know, that's not bad.
Yeah,
it's fun to frolic.
I keep my grass probably longer than anyone on my my block.
Well, it is COVID times.
Mow your lawn. What's wrong with a long lawn, sir? Loses his job. He's canceled. All right. But yeah,
well, that's good. Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much.
It's very exciting. All right. So another thing I didn't mention off the top is we are having a guest today, guys. We have Hayley Elsaesser is coming on. She's a fashion designer from Toronto. We're going to talk NBA fashion. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. The NBA is going in the bubble. She'll be on in a bit. But before that, Max, Erica, I mean, we know Shane has a second child. He's got a lot going on. What have you guys been up to? Anything popping?
Yeah, band's doing lots of stuff, but can't really talk about that at the moment. So that's a little tease. You'll hear about that soon. But I was in a real TV rut, despite like never watching the most classic, iconic shows of all time, like The Sopranos or Breaking Bad, any of those shows, I was like, I don't know what I want to watch on TV. It feels like I'm all out of options, which is a silly thing to say because obviously I have many good options that I need to dive into. But I did start watching the show I May Destroy You, which is on Crave. It's an HBO. Have you guys seen it?
People love this show. Everybody's been recommending the show. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it's good. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm about 4 episodes in. It's okay. I saw somebody tweet something about the show that's like, it's brave. It's like uncharted territories. It's like these really like hyperbolic kind of adjectives. I'm like, come on, it's a television show. But then as I watch, I'm like, this is kind of something I haven't really seen on television before. They're kind of diving into like themes of being a young person, like in your 20s, early 30s, that like I haven't seen sort of depicted in such like a raw way. But whenever I hear that kind of description, if someone was telling me that, I'd be like, this feels too heavy. Am I going to watch? Is this like the Basketball Diaries with people doing heroin or something like that? And that's the kind of thing I would normally shy away from because it would just be like too heavy for me. But it's shot in a very modern HBO, I want to say like, this is not it at all, but like Girls meets Broad City meets Dave, like just in that kind of like type of videography work. I don't know, like just like modern hip HBO shit. It takes place in London. The cast is really diverse, and it's just like stories that I just haven't really seen on television before. So anyway, I really recommend that. So that'd be my recommendation for anybody looking for a television show.
What's it called? One more time. My world's ending.
I May Destroy You.
Oh, okay.
It is so good. You and Alex should watch it together.
I will.
Yeah, it's so good.
Your version to the Basketball Diaries makes me laugh because I picture like a young Max going to see that movie and thinking it's about a kid that goes to basketball camp. And he's like, today I learned to do a layup.
I was so disappointed when somebody broke the news to me. Like, yo, dude, that's not really about basketball. It's about like Leonardo DiCaprio like doing like shooting heroin in a bathroom or something like that. I was like, what? It really like hurt my feelings. I was like, because I was into loving basketball. Do you guys remember that movie?
Of course.
Yeah, that was one of my sister's favorite movies. Yeah. Omar Epps, right?
Omar Epps. Yeah. Did they play like a game of like striptease for like 21 or something?
Like basketball is foreplay?
Something like that. It was Tiff's favorite, not mine.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember thinking that was a real like suave idea. I'm like, because like I love basketball. Like it'd be cool to have a girlfriend one day, and that's the game we will play. And it's never happened, but I like that idea.
Funny.
Erica, what about you?
Not much, you guys. I feel like the first part of quarantine and COVID and everything was very heavy, and like I didn't really want to like explore new TV shows or new music or new anything. I wanted only like familiar, comforting sort of stuff. But yeah, in the last week I've really sort of been diving into a bunch of new like music that's been on my list and stuff like that. Feeling good, feeling inspired. I'm getting this new hobby called Lino Printing. Don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's very fun.
I have not.
You take a piece of linoleum, which is this like rubbery stamp kind of thing, and you carve it with a wood cutter, and then you create a stamp.
Wow.
Cool.
It's really fun.
That's the kind of activity, when people take up those kinds of activities, I just think to myself, no disrespect, I have zero interest in that.
Yeah.
I know, and I've never really been a very artistic person, but it's very fun. The end result, very rewarding. And yeah. I'm officially moving home up to my parents, so I've been in Waterloo for a little bit more, hanging out with all my old high school pals.
How does it, so you've officially left Toronto or you're leaving Toronto?
Yeah.
Have you made the move yet?
Yeah, I've like given notice and stuff, so I have like a couple more months on my lease, but I have, and I have to get some shit still from Toronto and stuff, but I'm going to be home for the foreseeable future.
Do you like that? Is that a sad feeling to leave Toronto or happy?
Yeah, like mixed feelings. I would prefer to be in Waterloo during COVID times just because you can't really do the best parts of like being in Toronto, you know, like the nightlife and the this and that. You can't really, all the restaurants and stuff still kind of sketchy, but yeah, it'll be good. I'll save some money and maybe now one day I'll actually be able to buy a home. So I guess, yeah, that's a silver lining.
Yeah, if you need any advice, we can coach it.
Yeah, you guys, between you guys, there's like 17 homes or something between the three of you. So,
Mikey, what do you got? What have you been doing?
Not much. I've actually been busy with work. Work's been super busy, which is a good thing if we all want to stay employed for now. So it feels like things are sort of like churning back to a normalcy as far as like, at least in our industry and the economy. So I've just been super busy with that, hanging with the kid. I started watching this science fiction TV show called Tales from the Loop on Amazon Prime. And it's this really interesting, like thought-provoking, sort of slow-moving science fiction. It's like 8 episodes, and it's all about like this family that lives in this fictional Ohio town, and it jumps around time, and they sort of live on top of where there's this experimental sort of like thing called the loop that messes with time and space. Anyway, long story long is I was like, I thought it might be like eventually uplifting, but after 8 episodes, like it was really sort of like affecting in the most depressing way. And I was like, I kind of needed something else from the 8 hours that I invested in this thing over the last 2 weeks, because I can only watch an episode here or there. And I was like, okay, it will get to a good place. So I'll feel good about stuff, you know? And it was like every like story in this anthology was depressing as fuck. And so like after the last episode aired, I just kind of sat there like, I can't stop thinking about this family, and I'm just so like sad. So I do not recommend it, but it's very, very well done. And the last episode was actually directed by Jodie Foster, which shocked me. So the finale ends and it says directed by Jodie Foster. And I was like, what the hell? But anyway, so that's what I've been up to. Just working, hanging out with Winona, brought her for some ice cream today. And
is that her first cone, by the way? Her first ice cream cone?
Yeah, saw that.
No, she like
that was a misleading caption then, Mike.
It was baby's first time at Purple Pony, which is like a staple in Ancaster.
If I went there, I could have said first time.
It's like a classic spot here in Hamilton,
because that
Ancaster.
made me feel so guilty. I was like, geez, Winona's like 2 and she's never had ice cream. Lou had it when she was like 4 months old.
No, Winona
She had
is
a pint a week habit.
No, Win's like a snacker, man. Like sometimes just to kill time during the day, we'll take a little trip around to get some Timbits, and she knows when I'm like, maybe we'll go get a donut, and she'll get a big smile, and she'll be like, does all the moves and everything.
But you didn't know your caption would make people think that, oh, this is Winnie's first time having ice cream?
It wasn't my caption. It was Danica's caption. So I was like, I just reposted. But because to me, it was so apparent that it was her first time at the Purple Pony, I didn't think people would misconstrue it as her first time eating ice cream. Maybe it was misleading, man. I don't know. Shit. But now you guys know the deal with my kid, you know? It's her first time at the Purple Pony, not eating ice cream. Wow. She eats it all the time. Loves it.
Do we have a Hayley in the house?
We had Hayley just join.
If that's Hayley, yeah.
Yeah.
let's get into it.
We are super excited to have Hayley Elsaesser. She is a fashion designer in Toronto. Her designs have been worn by Katy Perry, Alessia Cara, and Joe Jonas. She wrote a deep dive on NBA fashion on her website, HayleyElsaesser.com, called Why NBA Players Are the New Style Icons. Of course, the NBA has gone into the bubble in prep for the resumption of the NBA season. In the bubble, are guys going to be able to walk in the tunnel? Are they maybe able to show off their outfits? How many outfits can you get in and out of Disneyland? Can they all fit in the hotel rooms? We're going to talk about all that.
Hi. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Good.
We have Erica. Shane's got the mustache. You know me, and Mike is the other guy. So
cool. Hey, everybody. Yeah, I heard the intro. I think the number one celebrity that has worn my stuff is definitely Max. So that was
thank you.
Necessity to mention.
Well, I recognize your shirt, and I think that's because isn't that the jacket you have, Max, with that print of the shirt?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It all makes sense now.
Good eye, Erica.
Yeah.
I actually have a question, because we have like an esteemed fashion designer on the podcast and we can see each other because we're on Zoom. Were you guys a little bit self-conscious about what you were going to wear to this because you knew she was going to see this?
Yeah, very self-conscious in the gray hoodie.
No, I kind of the mind, it's like, unless it's like showtime, people in fashion and like also in hair and makeup can kind of like go the other way and not give one fuck. You know what I mean? Like they like, you know how it's like when you're not like getting ready for a photo shoot, you're just like dressed like you just woke up in the morning kind of thing. So you know how sometimes that happens. So that's the way I treated this thing, because I'm like,
If you see me on a daily basis, I either look like I've just woken up out of bed or I'm like going to an event. There's not really an in between. And I'd much rather be very casual. So that rings true for sure.
I was just going to ask if you ever try to overthink the casual look, like you don't care look?
I definitely don't think I overthink it, but I definitely lean into that because I think it's funny to like kind of be the anti-fashion sometimes. So definitely I bought some like men's camo cargo pants as a joke, but then I ended up really liking them and just wearing like dumb t-shirts and stuff. But I think for me, I just love not taking fashion too seriously. So I think that kind of makes sense for that.
Haley, actually I have a very important question for you. I'm actually going on a camping trip and I needed to get some supplies. And I bought Tevas, but then I wore them. And I'm like, are Tevas actually cool? Because I have this memory of like hipster boys wearing like Tevas with socks, like on Queen Street West or something like that. Like, am I onto something?
And what is a Teva?
I think you're onto something, yes. It's a sandal. It's kind of like a typical dad sandal from the 90s that they used to wear with socks. They have like Velcro.
I know those.
I have Tevas. I love them. I think they're like nice and casual and comfy. I think sometimes comfort is like the most fashionable thing ever. So I think as long as you feel good, you look good.
I like it. All right. That wasn't the real interview. Mike will actually go on the real interview. But we're keeping all of this, by the way.
Oh, this is all staying in for sure. First, I wanted to ask about your sort of, what was the impetus to write your article about the NBA sort of being the most fashionable league? Are you a big hoops fan? Have you always been?
Yeah. So I played basketball. I don't really anymore because it's not part of my world, but I played basketball when I was 10 years old, into high school in like a somewhat serious way. So I've always been a very sporty kid, I would say, but also into fashion at the same time. Like Sporty Spice was my favorite Spice Girl. So that probably personifies who I was at that time.
My favorite too.
Yeah.
She got the best voice in the band.
Yeah. So, I was always definitely basketball was my sport. And I remember being very into the sneakers for sure. So I only a couple years ago got this pair of sneakers I was obsessed with. They're called the Up Tempos. They have like the air on the side of them. Scottie Pippen used to wear them. Like I just remember things from my childhood like that really stayed
like
with
air
me.
written out on them, right?
Yeah. They're
And, like,
I just looked it up.
like the big bubble
Yeah.
letters. Yeah. Those
are
shoes,
so
I
cool.
remember someone on my basketball team when I was a kid had them and I was so jealous, or probably an older kid or something. And finally I bought them for myself a couple years ago when I was in New York. So yeah, basketball has always been something that has influenced my fashion personally. I've been like always like kind of sport meets something else, I guess. So I don't know. And growing up, I loved Dennis Rodman. I thought he was insane and really cool. So it was just something that was always on my radar. And I think in the last...
Hey, Haley, about Dennis
Yeah.
Rodman.
Yeah.
I've only, because the Michael Jordan doc, The Last Dance, has consumed everybody. And then everybody on my Twitter and like friends are like, Dennis Rodman is so fucking hot. Oh my God. That guy was the babyliest guy. And then back in the 90s, I never thought of him that way. I just thought he was like the crazy man with the crazy hair who got all the rebounds. Back in the 90s, when you were a kid, were you like, that guy's so hot? Or is he only hot by today's hipster standards? Or not hipster, the wrong word.
I
but
still don't think
fashion
he's attractive. I think he's just cool. Or like he had cool fashion. I think he like pushed boundaries in a huge way, especially wearing dresses and different things. And he was really into Pearl Jam. So I think that inspired his like rock and roll image. But I actually used to have a crush on Scottie Pippen in like grade 2 or 3 or something. I don't know. And looking back now, I don't. He's kind of strange looking, but I thought he was like the hottest guy ever.
I thought he looked better than I remembered. I think his looks are kind of underrated because I always thought, yeah, he's a strange looking, unconventional dude. And then I went back and watched it, and I thought both Dennis and Scotty looked so much better than I had remembered.
Yeah, I have the
No one's with
reverse reaction with Scottie Pippen. Definitely, I feel like he looks like an alien now. Dennis, I just think is cool, but I don't know.
Did Dennis inspire you to dye your hair?
Me personally, no, but I
pink
did.
hair.
Dennis is like, he had leopard one time. I did that on my brother's hair a couple years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I think what attracts people to Dennis is honestly just his authenticity. Like he's so uniquely himself, and that's extremely attractive. There's sort of like he can't help but be himself. There's no facade with Dennis Rodman. He is who he is. What you're getting is an authentic experience. You know what I mean? Whereas it doesn't even feel calculated. And I think that is attractive to people. So then he becomes attractive by his very nature, whether or not, he's conventionally aesthetically attractive with his face or whatever it is you're talking about.
I don't know if you guys can see, but I have a Dennis Rodman Barbie on my mantle over there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, I think like he's obviously problematic sometimes, and he gets kind of weirder with age, and but he was definitely unapologetically himself when he was younger, and I think that's super cool. I think that's admirable, and I think that inspired a lot of. I feel like we wouldn't have seen Serge Ibaka wearing a skirt last summer without Dennis Rodman wearing the wedding dress and getting married to himself back in the day. So.
Who do you think had the biggest influence on NBA fashion? Allen Iverson?
Well, I think outside of NBA fashion is probably Michael Jordan, just because of like that is still such a huge brand. But probably Allen Iverson, because he was such a 180 to. I think basketball was pretty wholesome before he came around. Sort of, it was more like just about the game, and he came in and had like cornrows and tattoos and just had more of like. An edge to him. So I think that really got that kind of fashion in more of like a hip hop fashion into basketball. And I know that definitely the dress code was partially inspired by him. I know it happened after that fight, but it was also, I think that was a huge part of it. And so does he, is that he kind of inspired the reaction to go the other way, basically.
Yeah, no one really had tattoos before that, eh? It was just like maybe one or two. No one had the sleeves. Now it's hard pressed to find someone without tattoos.
100%. Yeah, like Dennis Rodman had a few like placements on him, but it was no one as heavily tattooed. That sticks out to me more than Iverson, I would say.
It's interesting that you mentioned the dress code, which was spurred by the Malice at the Palace, like that big fight between the Pacers and the Pistons. And at the time, it was controversial because even in the moment, it felt very much like sort of the idea of curbing this young urban fashion and what Allen was doing, these other guys wearing on the bench, and trying to put guys in suits, which is kind of, the NHL has been doing that for decades, to maybe make them more appealing to middle America, white consumers, all of that stuff. What's amazing about it is, although everyone complained at first and was like, this is a weird sort of like, attempt to get us to conform to someone's idea of how we should dress. It's like players actually ended up owning it in a way that evolved into the modern NBA, and the way that guys now do the tunnel walk, and that they've sort of adopted these fashions and found ways to sort of make it personal and make it their own, and sort of like take it back in like a way that maybe wasn't super apparent when it first happened and everybody was kind of pissed off about it.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because they did it as a means of control, but it kind of had the opposite reaction where it just forced everyone to realize their own individuality and really push that to the extreme. So it kind of had the opposite reaction, but it ended up being a really good thing for the NBA anyway. So it was like a win-win situation.
Hey, Hayley. So, I know Allen Iverson gets credit for making the player the individual and not being so corporate, but then his style of fashion was sort of harkens back to sort of that sort of very hip hop of that moment, with the cornrows and the tattoos. But now the fashion feels very highbrow and very extreme and out there. And I actually would guess that Kanye has something to do with that, just the shift in culture that would have people dressing in tight pants and weird shirts and colorful designs that does not look anything like the aesthetic that Allen Iverson wore. Would you say Kanye had some influence, or am I missing somebody else? Because all the things that Russell Westbrook or James Harden wears seems a lot more Kanye West than it does Allen Iverson.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the suits and the imposed dress code was a reaction to a couple different things, including what happened with Ron Artest's, but also Allen Iverson's kind of style and trying to go against that. But I think when you introduce the suits, dudes got more used to wearing suits all the time, so they were more familiar with different cuts, and that would probably lead to a little bit of exploration in that realm, but nothing too out of control. And then definitely, I don't know if Kanye was the only person, but Kanye's been doing crazy fashion in the last decade or so, and that would have definitely had an input. Because I feel like music and basketball and sports in general, it's all kind of the fashion kind of mixes and mingles together. It's something that I feel there's always some sort of connection. So I think definitely he would have had an impact for sure. Obviously, we can't say with certainty, but I think I would be very confident in that fact for sure, yeah.
So I wanted to ask about the bubble. How do you think that's going to work as far as NBA fashion? Do you think that this is sort of basically there's nothing else to watch as far as like live or original content that hasn't been produced months ago. So it's like, I think there'll be more of a spotlight on these guys than ever before. Are you sort of excited to see what guys cook up? Do you think that they'll be able to in that environment, or do you think they're just going to have to sort of roll with sweats because there's not a lot going in and out?
I think they'll definitely be able to. It just depends on the ability of designers to get them clothing, because obviously NBA players are super tall, they're bigger than sample size, so a lot of their stuff that they wear would be custom by brands, and those brands might not be really operating at usual capacity right now. So I'm interested to see if they're going to be all of a sudden sporting like more independent brands or more like DIY stuff, or if it's going to be kind of like amped up because everyone's kind of cooped up at home. Like for me, I take any experience to like if I'm going to the grocery store, I tend to dress up a bit more. If it's like something out of the norm right now, maybe they're going to really lean into it, because I feel like it's been a time. Everyone's been kind of like sitting around at home, and they're probably going to want to like go OTT, I'm hoping.
Who are you expecting to be the breakout person of this bubble world in terms of style? Serge Ibaka?
Well, I think that he'll be definitely amazing. I would love to see someone that usually has horrible style like Steph Curry to
Shots fired.
Take this time to reflect.
Wow, Max is appalled that you just said Steph has horrible fashion.
Let's
I
get
was
into
going to
that.
ask, is there such thing as bad style these days?
There
because
isn't.
It seems like everything goes.
No, I don't think, like, I'm all about like individuality and really expressing yourself and that kind of thing. But I don't know, something about him just rubs me the wrong way. I feel like if you have every designer at your fingertips and you still wear such like boring stuff, like, come on, he can just put a bit more effort into it.
Hey, listen, if he wants to wear an Under Armour golf shirt around, then he should, you know? Let the man be comfortable.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't want to, spoil anything here, but we put out a tie-dye Arkell shirt that was available to our Spotify fans. And then I just got a screen grab that Nick Nurse bought the shirt. He sent me the screen grab. He said, just bought it. And so then we tracked down, like, okay, which is the shirt that's going to the bubble in Orlando? So we have the tracking number, and we might see that on Instagram. That would be pretty cool.
Wow.
Sick.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know what? And they also relaxed the fashion for coaches. Like coaches have always had to wear like a blazer. I don't know if you'll be able to wear your tie-dye Max on the sideline when he's coaching in a playoff game. But I think the coaches are going to be allowed to wear sweats and like polo shirts.
Interesting.
Nice.
Or like
I feel like we will be
basketball.
seeing. I feel like we'll be seeing more tie-dye. I think that's like a big trend right now with so many people at home doing like DIY, and I feel like that will catch on in some way, hopefully.
So, Hayley, one of the things that's interesting about the bubble that we're just learning right now is that the players are like documenting their experience. And you saw J.R. Smith the other night, like in his hotel room going like, I don't got any sheets. Like, what's going on here? Kind of making jokes. Like Rajon Rondo compared his hotel room, which I thought looked pretty nice, to a Motel 8. He was like, am I staying in some Motel 8? I'm like, and some network on Twitter tweeted, he's like, I wish I could be so rich that I think this looks like a Motel 8. That's my goal in life, which I thought was kind of funny. And what are you looking forward to? What sort of antics do you think we're going to see when it comes to these guys in the bubble?
I feel like it might be like summer camp kind of antics, like when you get a whole bunch of people in one little zone that they're not used to. And they might be kind of bored. I feel like some like pranks or something might be happening. Hopefully, I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for.
What are your thoughts on stylish masks, like COVID masks? Is that a cool thing or no? Don't even try it.
Oh, I think it's cool. For me, I have masks and they've been selling really well. So for me, it's super cool because it's been really amazing, the support that I've been giving. But obviously, I think masks have been part of a streetwear more so in like Japan for the last few years. And they obviously have amazing streetwear. So I think you're onto something. Maybe that will be a new thing that we're seeing on the players, and they're like matching to their outfits or something like that. I think obviously safety is always cool and fashionable, so I'm excited for that.
If you could design for any NBA player, you know, if the one person you would want to come to you and say, Hayley, I need something, it's game 1 of the NBA finals, I want to make a splash, what player would you want that to be?
Probably like PJ Tucker.
Wow.
Wow.
He's he's a stylish dude. He's known for his
why
shoes.
is that?
You mentioned him
I
on
don't
your
know.
team.
Instagram, he's pretty stylish.
I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like he's. What? I don't know. That's so surprising.
Just because he's not a marquee player, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think he's cool. Like, I just remember I've seen pictures of him holding his shoes like a purse, and I just think that's pretty cool. It's like, I don't know. Also, obviously, like originally when you said that, I was kind of thinking of like Muggsy Bogues, because that would just be really funny. But he's obviously doesn't play anymore. I think it would just be funny to do someone that's a little bit different. Maybe I should do something for Steph Curry so he can pump up his style game. Maybe.
Hey, who's your favorite player in the league? Or who are you a fan of, or who interests you the most?
Obviously, I love the Raptors, but I would say, oh my God, I don't know. That's too hard to say. I think I love Serge Ibaka because I feel like I'm like less into the skill and more into the individual, So like I'm into like their heart and their soul more. So that's hard to say. Maybe Serge Ibaka.
Did you see that clip? Serge is doing like a brand partnership with some department store, and he ended up trying to dress OG Anunoby, and they end up getting this thing, and OG claims that he got Serge into scarves.
Yes.
That was like one of the best clips. Like, I don't know when it got posted. It was like late at night one night, and I was just sitting in bed with my headphones on my phone, and I was just laughing out loud. I ended up saying to my wife, Danica, I was like, you need to watch this. It is so damn funny. Do you think Serge is as stylish as they position him to be? They've sort of claimed he's a style icon. Are you on board?
Oh yeah, for sure. He's more of like a high fashion dude, but like he always just looks like sleek and nice.
He looks like a high fashion model. Right?
Exactly. I was about to say, obviously he's like really handsome, so that helps. Just pull the whole look together. But yeah, I think he always like looks really put together. He's not the most adventurous, obviously. Other than that ginormous scarf, but
that was awesome.
Or he wore a skirt last summer to some fashion show or something. But yeah, I just think he's really cool.
Who do you think has the coolest shoe out right now in terms of fashion? Mine was always Iverson's Question, and then I loved, back when I was in grade 5, the Ewings. He had the Patrick Ewing had the shoe with the purple suede. It was like my favorite shoe of all time.
Oh, do you remember Latrell Sprewell had like shoes with rims that spun?
Whoa, I do not remember.
Vaguely.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever were for sale. It's kind of like a fever dream memory, but I remember he had shoes that had like a spinning rim in them.
I remember Shaq had a shoe that was like $400 that you needed an attachment to like pump them up. That was crazy.
There's been some crazy stuff. I got to go a couple years ago. I got to go to like the Nike headquarters, and I got to see all the different iterations of the Jordans. That was really, really awesome. But yeah, I think having like a rim and a sneaker is really cool, personally.
I'm looking online right now. ballislife.com has an article called "The History of the Latrell Sprewell Supreme Spinner Shoes." And they were made by Data.
DATA. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole article online. We'll link to that on our socials because that looks very interesting. Oh, I don't remember these though. Wow. Huh.
I have weird memories. I don't know.
Hayley, I'm interested. You've designed for Max and Arkells on stage. Is Max easy to work with, or is he a diva?
No, he's super nice. He's awesome.
No, I wanted something more juicy than that.
What's the worst thing about Max's style?
I think that he doesn't wear enough color.
Wow.
But I do know, like, you have a fringe jacket, right? That you always wear? Yeah. I think that's really cool. And I'm pretty sure that Russell Westbrook has a fringe jacket that he's worn in the past. And I'm pretty sure it was after you, so maybe you are an icon that's inspiring the NBA. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like most people can wear more color, and I know that you wear a lot of black and like neutral tones, so I feel like you could wear more color.
Yeah, we're working on that. Yeah, we do get colorful sometimes, but not to your degree. But maybe I'm dyeing my hair next.
Yeah, my degree is kind of obscene, so.
And do you think Max could pull off a dye job, like if he went blonde or pink? Or...
Yes, totally. I think like bleach blonde would be really cool. I think, obviously I'm partial to pink, but I think like the kind of curly, tossly hair would look good blonde for sure.
I think so too.
It's like early 2000s Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Or late 90s Timberlake, I guess.
JTT, Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Home improvement action, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Hayley, before we let you go, how has it been during quarantine with your shop and your work? Like, what's the flow like?
The flow has been all over the place, honestly. It's been like kind of a day-to-day thing where I'm just learning as I go and adjusting. But it's actually been really awesome. I think this has been a time where people have wanted to be more conscious about supporting Canadian brands. So that has been really good. Like, the support has been awesome. I've been able to collaborate with like a charity to do some masks for charity and raise money for charity, which has been really cool. So I feel like it's just been a nice time to take a breather and reevaluate and reassess like what I'm doing and what I want to be doing, and working with my community, I guess. So yeah, it's been an uphill battle, but it's been a good one, I would say.
How do people get those charity masks?
So the charity masks are with this. I have one right here, actually, coincidentally. It's for like youth homelessness and stuff. It's called Stella's Place. So you can just Google Stella's Place and buy one of these masks. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Oh, nice.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Hayley. Did you guys have any more questions for Hayley before we let her go?
You know what? Well, we're gonna have to hit you up when we see how the players are rolling in for game one, and then, and then we can
some
have
assessments.
Some real time updates from you.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Thank
All
you
right,
so
Hayley.
much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
All right, thank you so much to Hayley for coming on and talking NBA and fashion. Gang, we're going to get to some topics. We're going to start with TikTok. I guess just in general, this has kind of become a big story because Trump had a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and a lot of people did not show up. I think it was 6,000 total at like a 19,000 people arena. It could be a myriad of reasons why people didn't show up, but essentially they spent weeks bragging that they'd sold millions. They had millions of people on waiting lists. They built an outside stage for overflow that they were taking down before he even started. Him and Pence were planning to do like a pre-speech outside, kind of like a Jurassic Park sort of setup, and then move into the arena. All of this stuff, they started to realize the numbers weren't there. The reason this became a massive story, other than sort of the embarrassing look for Trump, is because K-pop fans and ultimately TikTokers took credit for basically flooding the ticket request market. So it was kind of this eye-opening display of power by Generation Z using a platform like TikTok to mobilize and affect the outcome of this sort of presidential rally, which was very, very fascinating. So that sort of brings us to now and sort of the power of that app and conversations that have been starting because this app was obviously developed on foreign soil. And so Trump is there's been this movement that he might ban TikTok for privacy reasons and sort of like security reasons, because we don't know what kind of information we're sending over there for the people that make this app, for the way that it operates. We don't know anything really about it. It's just people use it. But one might surmise that Trump is taking on TikTok because he's also just embarrassed about this outcome in Tulsa. And it's a lot of power for Generation Z in the way that they can mobilize for something like maybe even election or future elections. So guys, the question is, do you trust apps in general? We've talked about this in the pod in the past, sort of our comfort level of sort of like whether it was the aging face app or anything like that. And then I guess secondly, what we think of this TikTok conversation and whether it is a dangerous app and how it's going to unfold. Maxie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I find TikTok is yet another example of something I kind of dismissed off the bat, and I didn't, because I didn't quite understand it. I just thought it was like an app for people dancing around. But of course, like any sort of idea that has something to it, it's evolved and people have used it for like various things. So obviously there's still a big component of dancing on TikTok, but it has this like political bent to it. There's a huge like comedy corner to it. And I've just really like changed my tune, I think, in the last like 6 months. Lauren around the house, she's on TikTok all day long, mostly on her Discover page, which is just an algorithm that feeds stuff to her that she's interested in. And she's just like entertained in a way that Twitter and Facebook and Instagram just like do not do for her. And so I've been, and Lauren's got good taste. And so I've just been sort of like impressed by like how it's evolved and it's much greater than I thought it would be. When it comes to the trusting of the apps, it's such a good question because I feel like I've resigned to this idea that all these apps have all of our information, and unless they like reveal my like search history or something like that, like then I think I'm kind of okay with it. Like, I guess my question for you guys is like, what would be the thing that would make you go, okay, I'm not going to use it? Because right now the Chinese government owning TikTok wouldn't be enough reason for me to say, oh, fuck it, I'm not doing it. Because I don't, do you know what I mean? Like, I think that any government can access this information. Any corporation can probably buy this information if they want to. Like the line that would cross for me is if like people's like personal like bank statements go out, or people's search histories go out, or whatever, because that's the stuff that feels truly private.
Yeah, I'm not worried about bank statements, really. It would be if there was a guarantee that if I downloaded this, a nude picture of me would be released. I'd be like, no, because I don't want anyone seeing that.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of thing. Like that is
your grass has been growing quite long during COVID.
Well, it's just I'm not a hockey player, right? I've never showered with guys. I'm not used. Even like my wife seeing my penis, I'm scared of. I like it dark, unless it's erect, of course. But you know what I mean. Why would I have flaccid pictures of my penis on my phone? I don't know. I'm just creating a scenario where I wouldn't want it.
What about your search history, Shane? Would you be like?
Oh, that I wouldn't want. Yeah.
You wouldn't want it.
Yeah. How to make penis bigger.
Best light to photograph flaccid penis.
Yeah, so you're in the same camp though. So basically it's like any corporation or government you're just assuming has your information. You're relatively okay with it because you get enough enjoyment out of the app, but it will cross the line if they reveal like personal stuff like that. That was what you're saying?
Yeah, anything that would humiliate me. Like my bank statement, I guess maybe it could be humiliating, but I don't really covet money or anything like that. So
yeah.
Mike, what about you?
I don't want to be embarrassed.
Are you like, where do you, because you're more of a private guy, I feel like, but you can't get off Twitter.
I do enjoy the Twitter. It's like a personalized news feed, man. But I will say that, like, I don't know, like I lean with what you guys are saying in the sense that, like, you're one of a billion people on an app. It's like, what are they even interested in? What are they going to, it's like if someone really deep dive into like my phone, what are they going to find? They're not going to find anything that's like beyond the regular sort of, the embarrassing like stuff. It's not like there's anything criminal going on. That being said, I think the concern, which is technology in general, is like one of the things that's been happening is like with the protests, law enforcement can go through and they can use a device that basically like gets phone IDs, and then they can trace it back to when these people go back to their homes, and then they can target them. Now that's just sort of an example of a way that they can use technology and personalized technology to sort of find you afterward. And then I guess you could extrapolate that and say, if they can get into your phone through an app, they can maybe find things that could be damning that they could use to either pin you on something, or, if you wanted to get super paranoid or whatever about like a controlling state. I guess that's the thing. But we're also intertwined with the grid and with the internet and technology. It's like we all have a million chain link passwords for our Googles and all of this stuff. It's like at this point, we're kind of in it, unless you want to sort of live off the grid.
Well, text messages, that would be something too, because things can be taken. Like if my mom texts me something and I'm like, oh, I'm going to kill you, mom. And then that in text makes me seem a lot worse than I actually am.
100%.
I was kidding.
Mm-hmm. Or even political leanings. If like, we started, if things got very totalitarian and they wanted to say, oh, like we see that you posted or you're having this conversation about your distaste for a Trump administration. There's ways that you could be targeted if things went a certain way. And I think that's the overall sort of argument of paranoia. Now, how this pertains to the Chinese government having a bunch of people in North America's and Europe's like personal information or access into their phones, like if there's a back door, I don't know what that means. I don't know. Again, like for us, like we're just numbers. It doesn't really matter. But if there was somebody that they wanted to target for any reason, let's say you're Daryl Morey and you say, you speak out in favor of Hong Kong and you happen to have TikTok. I don't think he has a TikTok, but if he did and they had somehow a back door into his phone, they could fuck with him because he's a prominent person that spoke out against them.
That's right.
It seems what's like valuable to most of these companies, it isn't so much like individual access to your individual phone or your individual thing. It's trends in data, right? That they sell to other companies or advertisers or whatever. And even probably the Chinese government. Probably what's more valuable to them is just like these trends of what North Americans do and where they visit and things like that. So, and because of that, like I've never really been worried either because I don't I've never known someone to be personally like attacked by the Chinese government from their phone or anything like that. You know what I mean? I just feel like I'm a drop.
Because you're young, though.
Well, that's the other thing. I've grown up with it. I've never really like known.
No, but I mean, in 10 years, when you have friends who are running for prime minister and whatnot, they're the ones that are going to be attacked, right? Right now, it's just mining your data. It's just find out if you like Coca-Cola.
And you always think too, like even just in the cancel culture landscape, like, I mean, like Justin Trudeau didn't have Facebook when he was 10, but all my friends did. You know what I mean? So there's like a trail of your life.
But he had it in college, right? And then he did all the brown face stuff. And then it comes out when he's important. It doesn't come out when he's not important.
But just having like
So that's
like
the
a
flurry.
longer trail of online activity is always just kind of a, I guess, more hazardous. But at the same time, we're used to it, right? Like I'm super used to it. So I just feel like I'm like a drop in the ocean at this point. Like I'm not worried about being victimized by any government or having my data stolen or breached. It just seems so unrealistic. And watch, now I'm gonna get hacked tomorrow probably just because I said that, but.
What's your embarrassment level for like nudes being?
Oh my God, humiliating. Like 11 out of 10. I would never want that. Also, like the thing that scares me always is like hacking into the camera when you don't know the camera's on or shit, or even on your laptop. Like I always have that shit covered. So if I ever found out that, like an app was like completely guilty of doing that to their users, that would probably be like the ending of me using said app. But
Yeah.
Did you guys read the article I sent about the Wayfarer scandal that's happening right now?
yes.
I did, yeah.
So what's interesting about that is that basically Wayfarer, what do they make? They make just like home furniture, basically.
And stuff. Yeah, all online though.
They've been accused of child trafficking, and basically, this kind of thing would normally just stay on Reddit message boards for like conspiracy theories, but because Gen Z. I think the way Lauren was explaining it, like are very sort of skeptical of mainstream media, and they grew up with like a distrust of the world to a degree. They get a lot of their information from like YouTubers and just in a very fragmented world. They've never really lived in a monoculture world that we grew up with, which is like, oh, there's like 3 news channels and 2 sports channels or whatever. These, and they're also very good with technology. So basically, they find these interesting, weird stories that could be true. And then because they're so good at editing stuff on apps, because they grew up with iPads in their hand, they can construct this really interesting narrative that is consumable in like a 1-minute video post that's way more entertaining than reading like a 5-paragraph Reddit post. I just think like the way the information is passed around right now is much, much different. And it's with a group that really prides themselves on being activists, right? Like I think Gen Zs feel like let down by millennials. Have you guys noticed it? Like you're beginning to feel old now, where you're like, oh, like we're the old guys that fucked up. Like I think half of TikTok is just Gen Zs making fun of millennials. I saw like one of them saying like the only thing millennials ever did was like give us Mumford and Sons and craft breweries. Like what the fuck are you useful for? Which I thought was kind of funny and kind of true to a degree. And so I find that intersection of kids that are growing up in this very kind of chaotic world and also very good with technology and also have like a sense of humor that is like, it's like post comedy or something like that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they are very like, I saw a bunch of TikToks making fun of YouTubers. Isn't that weird? It's just like, it's like they have a whole thing. It was like, oh, like this is like what a YouTuber does. And you know, like the funny, like the bullshit mannerisms, the jump edits. They go, ooh, oh, is this thing on? Oh, hi. Oh, didn't do my hair today. Like the stupid jump edits. TikTokers just make fun of that. It's like they have like evolved from millennials in a very interesting way. So yeah, did you guys read the Wayfarer thing and do you believe any of it?
Yes. I don't know. I don't know how much a big chest is worth.
Okay.
Like, you know, like the wooden, like the stand-up chest, not that.
The names are weird.
Well, apparently they went.
It depends on the craftsmanship.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know enough about value on household items. But it's suspicious that if it is indeed true that all these items are named like people's names, that's a little odd.
And unusual names too, not like Curtis or something.
And on the detail that I thought was interesting is that like you'd have a pillow that is labeled at 49 something, and then they would customize it with a name, and it would jump to like $12,000 from $49. And I thought it was interesting because at the end of the article, they posited that, the theory is that they're basically sending children in these cabinets to people. That's what you're ordering for your $13K. Now, the logistics of that seem wild. there's
So the kid's actually waiting behind the cabinet. It's not even like a code for like, oh, this isn't really the cabinet. The kid's actually in there?
You know what?
How would that work for a pillow?
Maybe I've assumed a little bit too much there, and my mind got a little ahead of me. I have a very active imagination. I was like,
That's where my mind went too, Mike.
Well, at first, I think everyone's does. But then when it's about pillows and other items, it's like those people would have to be so small.
Children tend to be small. At the end of the,
You have a baby, Shane.
At the end of the, or near the end of their call, they sort of suggested that it's a money laundering scheme, because it is weird that you would put something in and then it would jump, $12,000.
Yes, and then
something weird's going on.
There was all these comments on the article being like, I ordered a chest from Wayfarer. It was $500, and I accidentally got sent 3, and they didn't ask me to send it back, and whatever, or like
3 little girls.
Well, I don't know. And then or I ordered something, I got sent the wrong thing, and they just like refunded me double the price or something. Like they're just kind of throwing money around, is what it seems, and it's very disorganized, and definitely something fishy's going on though.
Do you believe it, Max?
I don't know. This one TikTok video that I saw from this like 17-year-old quirky looking girl was like very convincing.
With like the blue hair.
Yeah, I think that one. She was like, isn't it weird? And then she's like, these different graphics are showing up behind her. She's like, why is this thing worth $15,000? It's just a stupid metal cabinet. And what's with the name? Did you notice it's the same name as This Is Missing Kid in Ohio? Isn't that weird? I'm like, it is weird.
The problem is the facts are probably made up and doctored. So it's interesting the way she's edited it, but the facts she's pulling it from probably aren't true.
Yeah.
And that's what people never think about.
This is a problem with Gen Z and their distrust for mainstream media. None of them went to journalism school and have actually any ethics or standards. They just throw shit on the internet,
All right, calm down, Boomer.
Well, because they make the videos so quick, too.
Yeah, that's true. They don't have 2 sources on everything. It's not vetted by an editor.
Shane, do you think you were born in the wrong time? Do you think you should have been born in the TikTok era? I think you should have been a Gen Zer.
You'd have been awesome.
Maybe. But that being said, when I go on TikTok, like I've downloaded it once and I was like, let me give this a shot. I was so confused and lost, and I don't know. Like, I guess I wouldn't be if I was in that era, because I would just pick it up and have the intuition for it. But geez, I'm terrible with technology.
Sarah Cooper has to be... see, this is interesting. This might be the divide. So there's TikTok stars that we have never heard of, but Sarah Cooper, who does, she takes the Trump audio and she imitates Trump. Have you guys seen her?
Oh yeah. She's very funny.
She's become like wildly famous across every generation. Like whatever, famous actors retweeting her all the time, and she's very good at it. And it's kind of crazy how TikTok, literally this technology. This is somebody who didn't have like many followers. She's an actor in like February. Then like COVID starts, she's sitting around and she just starts, mouthing these Trump bits, doing the lip sync thing to it. She's like, it's wild how much she's exploded based on these videos.
Yo, I think like my parents and people of that age love that. It's so weird. I got that sent to me by like 3 different people over the age of like 65. It's got this weird old person appeal to it as well.
Well, I'd like to know what the young, like, a 17-year-old TikToker thinks of Sarah Cooper exploding on the app and sort of she's got representation now with like WME or whatever. People want to work with her. She got to be in that Jason Reitman remake of The Princess Bride. But here's my question about TikTok just before we move on. If Trump or an administration is able to ban something that has become so ingrained, like a TikTok, that means so much to the younger generation, what will the reaction be if you take it away from them? That's what I'm interested to know. Let's say they actually make it happen. What the fuck are the kids going to do at that point?
Revolt.
Oh, the kids are going to they're going to revolt. They're going to like burn down the all the technology that is used by other adults. They're going to fuck with so hard. That's my prediction.
Shane, what do you think will happen?
They'll probably migrate over to something and just fuck with that. Then they'll take over Instagram because they know that's like where all the old people are now.
I just wonder philosophically, like when I think of like the people that like the old like people that are bitching about having to wear masks, like you can't do that in America. You can't take away something that I have, these are my rights. I wonder if that will permeate this younger generation where they'll go, it's our right to use this technology. This is supposed to, all of those things. I wonder if they'll get caught up in that and it will be some sort of massive movement just based on principle alone.
Maybe.
We'll see. I doubt he'll be able to actually get rid of it. All right, guys, moving on to our next topic. Adrian Wojnarowski, who is probably the biggest NBA reporter on the beat. He's there's a thing called Woj bombs. If you're not a huge NBA fan and listening to this podcast, he is the follow that you want to follow if you're an NBA fan, just because he has access to everybody. The reason this is sort of interesting is instead of reporting the news, Woj made himself the news because a senator from Missouri, I guess, he'd sent an email, and I got a suspicion that this senator and his people and people like that senator send out these sorts of emails all the time to different media people, just hoping for someone to bite. But essentially, he asked in the email, why the NBA, because they've got these customized jerseys with names on them, won't do Blue Lives Matter or support the police or whatever. It's kind of like a really in the face of like what the movement is meant to the NBA. And then also sort of posited that the NBA was being hypocritical because they won't take on China as a moral issue, but they will take on sort of these domestic issues with racism at home. And Woj, in response to this email from the senator, just said, "Fuck you," period. And then that senator immediately screen grabbed it, and then they went on blast. They wanted to be in the news cycle. They sort of tried to manufacture their own cancel culture where they could cancel Woj for saying something inappropriate from a work email back. And it worked. So what happened was it entered the news cycle. People were talking about the senator who, in a way that no one was talking about him before. The whole right got sort of up in arms, and they're like, well, if an on-air personality said this to, AOC or somebody on the left, they would lose their job. And the whole thing sort of spiraled out of control. Also, ESPN has this. So they're very sensitive to the idea that they are a left-leaning organization already, or that their on-air people tend to be liberals, because that's what a lot of people, football watching right-wing people already charge them of. And so Woj biting and saying "fuck you" to the senator basically confirmed what everybody thought, that ESPN is just this big liberal machine. So Woj apologized immediately, probably with the threat of losing his job or something like that. And you'd think that would be it. He apologized sort of definitively and without hesitation. And then like 12 hours later, ESPN suspended him, I imagine without pay. And now the trending topic on Twitter is "Free Woj." In fact, only a couple hours ago, LeBron James wrote "Free Woj" on his Twitter. And he has the white fist and the black fist punching hands, and it's got over like hundreds of thousands of likes. So this has become quite a cause. Guys, what were your thoughts when you saw this story? Shani, I'll start with you.
I just cringe because I think that's so stupid for him to do that, and at a guy at that level to do that. Because I'm sending so many emails a day right now, and I know the embarrassment of even when I word something slightly wrong. Because I really, like, Alex is an English teacher. I spend a long time crafting my emails, and then she will go through it with her eyes, and we'll fix it and talk about it before we hit send. And once I sent recently an email to the wrong person, which had embarrassing information on it about them, and I had to play it off like it wasn't an accident. And then, so the crafting that went into the next email, which I must say it worked, and the person believed that my first email was intentional and not completely accidental. But I can't believe a guy of Woj living in this day and era would do the "fuck you" thing, because we all want to do stuff like that. We've thought about it maybe when we were very young, before we knew cancel culture would be a thing one day. We've done that. But for him to do it now, that is unconscionable almost.
Well,
like,
that
was he drunk or?
Yeah, that's the biggest shock of this whole thing. Is like, for a guy who spends his whole day on his cell phone texting people and emailing people and breaking stories, to even have that reaction. Like, how many other crazy emails has he sent? If he's been doing this for like 25 years and like he sends this to a senator, like, that is just that's the most shocking part, that he still even has a job, that he presumably has been doing this for years, and like no one's ever called him out on him. So I thought that's kind of funny. Also, it's just
it was probably the last email of the day. It was like time for dinner. He's like, yes, I could answer and really get him with some clever phrasing here, and I know what to do.
Or it was like 10 p.m. and he was like
a
couple pints deep and just read it and was like, fuck this guy. And just willy-nilly did it, and woke up in the morning and was like, oh, fuck me, I should not have sent that email last night.
Or he probably had a buddy over his shoulder, like, oh, you
exactly,
think I should do it? Yeah, do it.
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen? Yeah, exactly.
No, I was going to go the other way, though, because normally what you do is whenever you're pissed off at like a colleague or at your cell phone provider or whatever, you draft this really mean-spirited asshole email, and you're like, I'm going to fucking send it. It feels so cathartic writing this thing down.
Sleep and then you show
you sleep on it, but you show your significant other, and they go, No, this is ridiculous. Do not send that. Hey, I think I'm going to send this text. Does this text look okay to you? And then if you're with somebody who's like has your back, they just go, no, delete that immediately. I'm glad you had the opportunity to write it out. This is the most unhelpful thing ever. Which is like really the point of like drafting anything in an email, which actually kind of reminded me of the band used to share an email address, like one email address. So all of our band emails in the early days were written from the same email account, and we just sign our name at the bottom. But on our phones, some of us would get notifications for when draft updates were happening. So people could find, like, see what the other person was writing to the band in like every variation, and usually just like a clumsy, stupid email. But sometimes people had a lot on their mind and wanted to like say a lot of stuff, but you could kind of like monitor what they're doing. Eventually we're like, hey, who's got the function? And then we deleted it. I think that's what actually led to all of us just sending emails from our personal accounts. But can you imagine having somebody like look over your drafts? That'd be terrible.
No,
it's kind of what we're talking about when it comes to our history. But you want that.
Who's
that
the
privacy.
best emailer in the band?
Oh, Mike and Nick are really good writers. Actually, they're such good writers. I almost like don't like any emails because I'm like, I'm not going to win this if it's via words. So I'll save it for in person, which I think I can charm them. That's usually my attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Nick, I actually had we were doing a nice socially distanced backyard hang. He's one of my neighbors, and he thinks that Leo is an overrated actor. He does not think Leonardo DiCaprio is an elite actor. So that led to, as you know, Nick likes a good debate. That led to a good hour on whether or not we consider Leo elite. So maybe we'll have him on the pod and we can take that up again. I thought it was a hot take. A hot take.
He's definitely a great actor. That's a crazy take.
Well, you can take it up with Nick at band practice. One more thought on Woj I had was I think that Woj probably regretted what he did because he bit on something that this center, like I think he realized he was getting trolled and that they probably troll every on-air personality, and that Woj is like, you know what? That was so fucking dumb. Damn it. I bit on it, and he probably regretted it. That being said, this is going to end up being a big win for Woj. All of the biggest basketball players in the league are going to say, yo, this guy had our back. He basically stood up to a U.S. senator. Yeah, Woj is going to get suspended for a week or two without pay. But I think the fact that LeBron James is tweeting free Woj, and these are all his guys. Like he's texting with these guys, trying to get info. It's like, it's a win with the people that matter to him. And all anyone's going to remember is that Woj told a senator to fuck off. They're not going to remember that he got suspended or that he even apologized. They're just going to remember that he sort of made a stand. So it's kind of like this interesting thing that I think ultimately will turn out very good for Woj and the people that he cares about. So, time for Shane's surprise.
Yeah, man. I want to talk about goals and reaching them, and if you have any stories revolving around that, because I'm obviously a driven person. I go to extreme lengths to reach my goals, and recently I had bet Alex that by the time our child was born, she would have 10,000 followers on Instagram, and we were like 700 short on the day of the birth.
Oof. Still damn impressive. Still damn impressive.
But I was like, how am I going to do this? So before the baby pops out, I got to figure out a way to get 700 followers in a matter of hours. So I'm like, we'll live stream the birth. I'm like, no, that's not going to get enough traction. Like, you got to tell people we're going to monitor it. So we just started doing little clips of her getting induced, of her getting the, what's the thing that goes in the spinal cord?
Epidural.
Her getting the epidural. Blogs started picking it up. And then we're getting shared on all these outlets and everybody's talking about it. We ended the day at 2,500.
In one day.
10,500?
Sorry, 10,500.
You lost a bunch. You lost 8,000 based on the videos.
But it's funny. We had 2 weeks before we had 8,000, and I'm like, "There's no way we're gonna make it." But we ended up getting 2,700 in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I thought it was pretty nuts. And just like when you have drive and like you have focus on a goal, like anything's possible. So I was wondering if you guys had anything recently or in your past where you're like, I have to get this, the lengths you went to get it, if you got it, or like how you react when you either get it or do not.
Oh no,
Anything related to that?
I'm not crazy like that because I work better. I think if I'm like in a state of bliss and I think like I'm more productive and I'm a better teammate and I can do better work if I'm just feeling good. But because if it starts to get like super intense and I'm like, this needs to happen right now, then I think I crumble. So I think
Really?
Oh yeah, I think slow and steady has been.
What about knocking? I thought you'd have like the. Didn't you create knocking at the door and like an insanely?
That's true, actually. Oh yeah, that's actually a good idea. Yeah. So basically, we had this demo for knocking at the door. This commercial opportunity with the Jays was kind of available to us and Budweiser. And we're like, oh, let's like finish the song and we can submit it. We kind of should get around to it anyway. And then they're like, they heard the demo. They're like, oh, this is amazing. Can we just put it out? We're like, oh, okay, it's not done quite yet. Give us a minute. And then like you're right, actually. Yeah. Within like 3 weeks, we like properly recorded the song, made the music video with you and put out the song before the commercial came out. So, yeah, that's actually true. I do think there's something to be said for a deadline. I do completely agree with that. I think, I think with songs and a lot of creativity, I think is helped along the way when you have to hit a deadline. I agree with that.
Erica, what do you have?
Well, that's a good point. Deadlines versus actual real goals, I feel, is an interesting point.
Well, that's what I always do. I always create a kind of deadline to reach my goal. And sometimes it's unrealistic, but I act like it is realistic.
Yeah, you guys, I'm not going to lie. COVID times has really made me sort of reevaluate my goals in life. And I feel like I'm sort of in a phase where when I was 23, that whole year was sort of weird and like career-wise things sort of went maybe astray from where I originally envisioned things and stuff, but not to say that they weren't better than what I originally envisioned. Perhaps they were even better. And so it kind of just made me realize like, oh, what is it exactly that like, drives me, motivates me? What kind of things do I like feel the most fulfilled that I do? And I'm sort of right now in a phase where I'm sort of reevaluating that. So let's talk in 6 months. But I think all this new music I'm listening to is also helping me get in a space. Who knows, maybe in 6 months from now, I'll be a very profitable lino cutter. And that will be my business.
Could
Who
happen.
knows? So, yeah, I'm kind of evaluating. I'm in a weird phase right now, you guys. But if there's any advice, shoot it my way. I'm sure listeners would love it.
That'll be next episode. We're going to do a full Give Erica Advice segment.
Oh,
I like that.
perfect timing. Let me tell you.
Well, they say your brain doesn't even set until you're 25.
Set?
Yeah, like your brain's not fully formed or developed until you're
Yeah.
25.
That would make sense.
What about you, Mikey boy?
I would say that the most driven I've ever been was, I would say like in my teens to late teens, because the one thing that it was like my dad worked in welding. My uncles worked in like Campco here in Hamilton. It was all like assembly line work and sort of like more blue collar work. And when I was a teenager, it was like, I was obsessed with like making skits and being in bands. And I was like, no matter what happens, I don't want to be here in this city when I'm like 25 doing the same thing that my parents did or my family did. And that's not a knock on anything like that. It's just, it wasn't what I wanted to do just because I'd seen it for my whole life. So I was like, I knew I was going to get out. I didn't know how I was going to get out, whether that was going to be through school. And then ultimately the VJ search came along and the commercial came on TV and I was sitting with the girlfriend I was with at the time. And I was basically I was like, I could do that. And she was like, then do it. And I was like, yeah, I will do it. And I ended up kind of doing it more to prove that I could do it, kind of like to her, because I was like, she doesn't think I'm going to do this. Like, she doesn't like, you don't think I can do this? And I find that I'm at my best when it's personal, when I have to prove it to somebody in a weird way.
Yeah.
So I know you're very good, Shane, to it. Like, you'll set like a goal. You're like, I want 10,000 followers, and you'll find that. I'd almost have to have somebody tell me you'll never get 10,000 followers or something.
I create a narrative where somebody's saying you can't do it, Shane. Like I have that devil telling me
Are you Michael Jordan? Are you like Michael Jordan? Where you're just making up stories?
Yeah,
I'm gonna kill that guy.
Yeah, I just feel, so like ultimately, like I would say that it ebbs and flows. So like, I get the VJ search and then I get this like sort of like dream job for me. And then in a weird way, it's almost like, oh shit, I kind of like, it worked. It happened. And then like my drive dissipates a bit and then something will come along that ignites my drive. But I can definitely get to a point where I'm not like, Like, I'm not like, I need to do something now. It's almost like, oh, I want to start a band. Like, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. And then it's like, I go crazy on the band, we get a record deal. And then in some ways I kind of proved it to myself. And then I'll sort of like, I dissipate again. I find that sometimes it's hard for me once I get to certain milestones to keep my foot on the gas. And so, unless it becomes personal in a weird way. So I'm constantly navigating my ebbs and flows as far as my drive, because there are pockets where I can be the most like driven asshole in the world, and then there's like long swaths where I can be like, I just want my family to be happy, and it's like I just want to sit in the backyard and have beers and talk about basketball. And then I find that I lose that drive is very low in me, but then something comes along and it triggers again. So it's like I have this fire that's ignitable, but it's not like I won't just for any reason kind of be like, I'm going to take on a project. It has to be a project that I really care about in order to invest the time.
But you know what we're doing here is like everybody can find like a model for who you identify with the most and go, oh yeah, that's me. So like Shane, you're like Michael Jordan. I'd say you were like you drum up these controversies in your head, or like these people that tell you can't do something. I listened to a podcast this morning actually with Usain Bolt, and he was just like, I run the race. My coach tells me not to look around. When I'm finishing when I'm like, but I'm like,
everybody.
Yeah, but I'm like, nah, that's what I do. And then I go party. And people said I partied a little bit too much, but I got to stay loose. So I think I'm more like the Usain Bolt model, where I'm like, I need to stay loose. I'm an entertainer. If I'm like, I think the photo of him breaking the world record and him looking over to like the right side or whatever with a big old smile on his face was way cooler than if he had put his head down and shaved off another 0.003 milliseconds. Like, who cares about that? I want the sick photo. So I'm more in the Usain Bolt camp. Mike, who would you compare yourself to?
Good question. I don't know. I think
you get the guy from Hoobastank sometimes.
I do. I would say unfavorably, like I don't feel good about this, but like sometimes I've related a lot to Vince Carter in the sense that people are always like, Vince had the ability to do all of these things, but then ultimately he was just so happy with what he had at times that he wasn't like Kobe or anything like that, even though he was arguably like, and that's not to say I'm a super talented person, but I feel like I can sort of do a little bit of everything pretty well or decently, so that it's like, I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is good. Like, I'm happy. I have my family. Whereas like with Vince, that is an indictment because he should have won a championship. So sometimes I relate to that. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. And Erica, I'd say you're like Lena Dunham's character on Get Girls.
Oh,
right?
She's not happy with that one. Look at the face she's making.
I'm saying the confusion of your mid-20s and not knowing what to do with your career. Isn't that the point of the show?
Sure, yeah. I just don't, is Lena Dunham like well-liked? Do we like her? Is she canceled? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what the Lena Dunham vibe is.
I'm saying her character on the show.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is just like, is somewhat like, I'm in my 20s. I don't know what to do with myself. She lived in New York and then moved out of the city. You lived in Toronto and you moved out of the city. I'm just saying there's some similarities there.
I feel like you guys, not to toot my own horn, but sometimes I feel like the fourth Haim sister, like, I feel like their last album was maybe made in like a wallowy time. And I feel like sometimes my best things come from a wallowy time. You know what I mean?
That's good. I like that. Okay, so we're going to post a picture on Instagram of you and the Haim sisters as the fourth sister. And that'll be, Erica is the fourth Haim sister.
Her contribution.
Yeah.
Mine will be baby coming out vagina.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Mike, you can be Vince Carter, but with your head on Vince Carter's body, dunking. Okay?
Love it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Game plan.
Cue the music.